Okay, I've got a question. What do an uninspired journalist, an incredibly elaborate snow maze, and competitive snowplowing have in common?
Well, somehow, believe it or not, they're all key plot points in 2020's amazing winter romance. We've got a lot to talk about, Josh.
We do, Lauren, and we'll unwrap it all on this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
If you like holiday movies from the classics to newbies, let's sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh. Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
Jennifer is taking a little time away with her family right now, so I've got my lovely wife, Lauren, filling in for this episode. Only fitting, since you're stuck watching a bulk of these movies with me day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. Happy to do it. We've got a fun one on the way. First, help Jennifer and Josh grow the podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, and write a brief review. It really helps them out. Find all the social links online at doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com.
Great job. Great job reading that part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Exactly. Yes.
I can read.
You can read and read well. So let's get down to business. Here is the plot summary for Amazing Winter Romance, which we were just looking for something to watch, something to have a little bit of fun,
Silly.
something silly, get in the winter spirit.
Mhm.
It's finally starting to feel a little bit like fall, and I think this did the trick. Here's the plot summary. When journalist Julia goes back home to find inspiration, she discovers her childhood friend has built a giant snow maze, which prompts her to find her way to true love. Now, when we saw the title for this being called Amazing Winter Romance, I don't think we connected the dots, did we? That amazing
It took
meant
me a second
amaze.
until I saw the maze, and I was like, oh, amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We both have master's degrees, and that took...
I just looked it up, and it was shot in Winnipeg, where the world's largest snow maze, which is called a maze, Maaze, in Corn.
So this actually is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
a good setting for a holiday movie. All right, let's go.
Totally.
So, curtain up on a winter wonderland. We're getting aerials of an elaborate winter maze we heard about actually exists in Canada. Then cut to a basic big city yoga class where we are inhaling the future and exhaling the past, which seems really weird thinking that you have to exhale before you inhale, but
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
not good
No.
posture at all.
No.
It's like, this teacher needs to give some modification. She's flailing. She's going to fall down. Like, could have done kickstand instead of tree pose. I mean, that would have
Something.
little
Offer a
better,
modification.
but, you know.
Anyway, our female lead, Julia, is really wobbly in tree pose, as you mentioned, and talking in class, which is definitely
No.
a no-no.
Do not.
Yes. Cut to a big city office a little bit later, and we are finally sipping some smoothies. We learn Julia is a journalist who writes an inspiration column for some sort of online publication in Chicago, but ruh-roh, she's been really uninspired of late, says her boss, who swiftly sends her back home away from Chicago to Williston, North Dakota.
I'm like, I wish my boss would send me to a small town when I'm feeling uninspired. It's like, oh, shocker. You need to go home to the small, cute town. Take your time. There's no deadline.
Just rest,
Just, like,
reconnect
stay in your
with yourself.
feels and find something happy. Like, okay, well,
Yeah, not exactly believable.
yeah.
Anyway, Julia arrives. She snaps a picture of a cute little croissant shop and gets a hot cocoa and a box of brownies. We keep hearing references to this snow maze early on from the townies, and Julia is pretty intrigued. She takes the brownies off to her folks' house. Mom really misses her. So does Dad, who I thought looked all of like 7 years older than Julia. He did not look old enough to me to be her dad.
Yeah.
Anyway, Julia learns that our male lead, a guy named Nate, is still in Williston. Mom wants them back together, so apparently there's some history there, and we quickly learn Nate has done something amazing with snow. Julia goes to check it out. It's out behind his house, and Nate's niece, Ava, leads the way. So we finally get to see the snow maze, and Nate tells Julia it, quote, beats the mazes we built as kids. So again, there's history there. Nate and Jules go check it out at the fire pits while Ava runs through the maze. It's pretty magical. Nate and Julia are instantly warm and chatty, and I'm curious what their past hiccup was. Did you buy their relationship?
I did over the movie. I felt like his character, especially at the beginning, was kind of flat, or he's just kind of doofy, like always smiling, not like, oh wow, I'm really excited to see my high school crush, like my best friend, my childhood friend. Like he was just kind of like, hey, here,
Hey, I'm here. Yeah.
So I was
Which is truthfully the way you normally impersonate me.
well, you know, there's not a lot wrong with being doofy. I mean, that could be a lot of other worse things than doofy.
Anywho, for some reason, there is an ice cream station hidden in the maze, and Ava shows up with a cone for Julia after she leaves. This maze is truly a community effort, says Julia, and it's at this point I wonder if this script might have been written by ChatGPT. It seemed a little bit mechanical for me at the start. Later that night, Nate shows the blueprints for the maze and gives her the background on the community effort. He also says it's not been as successful as they would have wanted, and Julia thinks to herself, I can help with this. So we get early on, she's going to use her career, her platform to help her small town.
iPhone, because she doesn't have
Her
a real
iPhone.
camera. Like, she has like those flip covers like old people take with their iPad when they're taking pictures. And I'm like, do we not going to give her a drone or like a
No. Professional photographer.
DSLR camera?
No.
We're just doing the phone.
No.
And it's going to be on the internet.
Exactly. And the next day she's out there snapping those cell phone pics while Nate asks her about big city life and her romantic prospects in Chicago. She apologizes for losing touch with him. They have kind of a tender moment here when Nate's dog runs into the maze and Nate must go after him for some reason.
I'm like, it's just the dog
It's
that
just a
lives
dog
in
who lives
snow
here.
outside.
Yeah.
Probably going to be fine.
He'll be fine. Later on, Julia is flipping through photos and she gets goo-goo eyes when she sees Nate and pics she snapped earlier in the day, so she chats with Mom about their history. Julia continues her little walkabout tour of her small town, then swings by her friend's croissant shop where she meets Sky. Now, Sky is this free spirit of an artist, kind of new to town, who really likes hugs and is making a flyer for the snow maze. What did you think of Sky? What were your first impressions of her?
Well, my first impression was that she was just kind of like a quirky, trying to find her way kind of. Oh, she's a little like annoying, but you can't not like her because she's just trying to be sweet. And then through the movie, she kind of got a lot more on my nerves.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah.
Julia and her dad go to drive some snow plows. Now, Nate's there for reasons unknown, and they go plow parking lots, which I thought to myself, are we really about to get a snow plow montage?
We did.
And we did, yeah.
It's excellent. They're like, oh, we almost wrecked the snow plows. Ha.
Yeah, there's this flirty little competition that they have where they are trying to figure out.
Right into each other.
They almost ran into each other. They knocked out a parking lot in 18 minutes, which apparently is a very big deal, after which Nate convinces Julia to climb the snow pile and then swing in their old swing set. So it's flirty, but then here we go. Sky shows up with tea for Nate, and she's like, oh, I didn't realize you were going to be here, Julia. Somehow, though, Julia has fallen on the ground because they were doing that twisty thing on the swing.
She was like, I can't get up. I fell on the snow.
Folks,
Like,
she literally was
like
maybe
this.
an inch of snow sprawled out. Yeah, it was a little much.
We're like, really? You can't get up now.
Yeah, but it's clear that Sky is instantly jealous about Nate and Julia's history here. And we get this line from Julia that cracked me up where she goes, quote, I'm a writer. A journalist, actually. Yeah, she says, kind of braggy. It's clear that Sky likes Nate, and Julia spots that a mile away. She gives Nate a hard time about it. The next morning, Julia's mom makes some muffins and sends Julia over to Nate's house to deliver some gloves that he left behind in one of the snowplows. She runs into a friend who turns out is a teacher in town and also Nate's sister. Later, she Bobo FaceTimes with her editor, who loves the article. Suddenly, it's all kinds of inspiration now that she's been back home, and she wants the tea on Nate. She's supposed to, quote, write something more from the heart, which has Julia wondering. So she's off to the Snow Maze snack shack to search for Nate, who is nowhere to be seen. She climbs a little snow mountain nearby, and Nate shows up to flirtily invite her to toboggan.
They like to dare each other.
Yes. So we go tobogganing, not sledding.
Sledding is what we do here.
Yeah,
in
so
Tennessee.
that was a little weird. The trip down the hill lasts 4 seconds, all of 4 seconds. But the music we
Treacherous,
get,
though.
right, the music we get, the way it's shot, it's somehow meant to seem super dangerous, but it's not. And Nate wants to show her the memory book that he wants people to sign in the quiet corner of the snack shack. So they tried to give us a little bit of peril and a little bit of heart in the span of about 30 seconds. We're back at Nora's shop, and there's more hot chocolate and croissants to be had. We get our first look at Sky's poster that I think she just whipped up in paint by the look of it. And Jules is pretty skeptical about Sky's motives. So Nate gets whipped cream on his nose because he is so fun and funny. Clearly, he still likes her.
I like that part because that's when they were talking about the big town versus staying home. And he was like, why would you ever leave? I have everything I need, even sprinkles. Because Miss Nora gave him like a test tube of sprinkles to put on his hot chocolate.
Listen, I like a sprinkle on hot chocolate.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? Jules leaves the croissant shop. She heads back into town a little bit. She actually literally runs into Sky down the street. It's a weird interaction between the two women during which Sky tells Julia all about New York cheesecake, and it's clear there is something a little bit off about Sky. We're kind of wondering what's the problem here. What's going to be the whoopsie doodle, as it relates to
They
her.
did run into each other. That you left that part out.
Well,
Almost knocked her grocery bag out.
This is true. This is true. Exactly. Anyway, Julia's dad dramatically unveils a snowmobile in the garage, and she winds up opening up to him about having to find Hart. He suggests she might find it at the pancake breakfast that Nora happens to be throwing at the snow maze the very next morning. Cut to the pancake breakfast. It's packed, of course, and little Ava takes Julia to make snow angels. Nate's there, of course, and Ava notices their wings are touching when they're making snow angels, which apparently in the lore of snow angels means that they will always be together even when they're angels. Okay. Is that anything you've ever heard of when it comes to snow angels? It's just the intersection of
It was
arms.
kind of a kid thing to say because she was like, oh, yeah. And I thought it was sweet.
They do this thing in these movies where the kids are just these perfect little angel babies
Yes.
who say all the sweet things and do all the sweet things, and that's very much this girl's lot in life in this movie. Anyway, later that night, Julie is in her room, and she spots a picture of her and Nate as kiddos. She's suddenly inspired and writes. Well, her boss loves the results, and she tells her that she should stay longer, and so she's going to. Julia is put in charge of the snack shack ever so briefly, but she has to leave her post when Theo the dog yet again bolts into the snow maze.
Again, it's a dog.
It's a dog.
He lives in the
Clearly
snow.
fine.
He's gonna be fine.
Don't freak out. It's
Yeah,
clear.
She abandoned the French fry stands.
Oh.
Somebody wanted to buy French fries. Too bad.
Too bad, so
But
sad.
he was there to take her money.
Yeah. She's not a good friend for leaving the snack shack so easily. Yeah. But it's pretty clear where this is going because Jules gets lost for about 5 seconds. So we get this really perilous
She
music.
leaves the French fry breadcrumbs for the dog because the dog wants to eat the French fries.
She's overly dramatic about it when she sees the little girl who sweetly rescues her because Ava apparently knows all the ins and outs and the emergency exits of the snow maze. It is her uncle's after all.
Handy.
Very handy. Sky shows up. She's super catty with Julia about New York's alleged supremacy over the city of Chicago. Nate jets off to clean a salt truck with Julia instead of taking an art class with Sky, so it's clear where his priorities are, and Sky is pretty bummed about it. Julia and Nate take her dad's snowmobile for a little bit of a spin and have a heart-to-heart by the bridge in town, which is usually, having grown up in a small town, you did too. That's where you go to have a heart-to-heart, is usually by a bridge or a pond or something like that. So this is pretty true to form. He basically invites her to stay in their cute little hometown. She punts on this moment and basically demands that they jet home so she doesn't get caught by her dad. Anyway, dad busts them anyway and just shakes his head and wags his finger. He's a good dad.
Rascals.
Rascals. He's a good dad, though.
He's sweet.
I thought he had good
Yeah.
lines, yeah. even if he did sort of look more like an older brother.
Well, yeah, but he was daddish. Dadly.
Exactly.
Yep.
Julia comes over to Nate's for dinner. Ava wants to have s'mores with her in the maze. Sky shows up with a brilliant idea. Let's add some lights to the maze so that people can visit it at nighttime.
And she's been pitching this idea for like the last 45 minutes. So every time she sees him, she's like, oh, I really want to come by and talk to you about the good idea I have for the maze. And we're like, okay.
Which is exactly how she delivers her lines.
Well, pretty much. She's not likable.
No. But this idea, I had to laugh. Let's put lights up so people can enjoy it at nighttime. Revolutionary.
No. Congratulations,
Mind-blowing.
artists. Great idea.
Mind-blowing. Anyway, they suddenly decide to do it. And where she got all these lights just at the ready to string up at this gigantic maze.
What do you call those? So like Einstein bulb. What are they called?
I think
It's not like
they're not like dollar store Christmas lights. They're like the Italian light kind of lights thing. Yeah, exactly. It's nighttime, and Julia and Ava have a girl talk about boy trouble. It's kind of cute. Nate wants Julia to help with the lights, but she says no, and instead Nate and Sky talk about her love of small towns, which feels a little bit phony to me. Sky is clearly trying to win over Nate. Julia climbs a ladder to sort of sneakily check on both Nate and Sky. They catch her. She doesn't want to leave, but begrudgingly does so and leaves Nate and Sky to their lighting project. She's back home and over dishes. Julia asks her mom about Nate's romance prospects. Nate's sister at his house, meantime, gives him a hard time about Julia. So both these people are getting pressure from either side to sort of own up to the way they feel about the other person. It's kind of cute.
Oh, I thought it was cuter than the way it can be done sometimes. Because sometimes the moms can be annoying. And I felt like her mom was just kind of like, oh, you want me? I didn't know you wanted to talk about Nate. She was like, oh, because she asked her to not talk about it. And so she didn't until she asked her again.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Nate stops by Julia's house to pitch the idea for a fun tradition. Let's go ice skating. She's a little bit klutzy, but of course he's there to help. They go for a cocoa afterward and a light-lit stroll, and he again pitches the idea that she should just go through the maze. Apparently, Julia once got lost in a maze as a kid. We get a little bit of backstory here that she's actually a little bit afraid of the maze, so it's kind of a thing that she doesn't want to do. What he says, however, inspires her, and she goes for it. She writes the article. It is a smash viral hit. And it's all the talk at yoga back in Chicago, we learn, as her editor gabs while rolling out her mat.
Yeah, still talking.
Still talking in the studio. Yeah. I loved, by the way, all of the generic brand Lululemon that everybody was wearing in this yoga studio. It's pretty fun. And why, for the love of God, do we have to always, when we have a yoga studio, there's always a bamboo thing.
Yeah,
always
plant.
A faux plant in the corner.
Yeah. Sure.
We get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nate and Jules hop on some horses for a snowy trek. She tells him to ask Sky on a date, but her eyes say, please don't do that. She's wrapped up in a blanket outside her house later that night, and she looks super sad because, again, she's told this guy that she likes to go on a date with somebody else. She has a heart-to-heart with her mom about small-town life, Nate, and the glow that she has when they're together. Nate is chatting with his sister. He's kind of sad, too. She tells him he has got to risk it and tell her how he feels. Oof. Both of them are kind of in a place of conflict right now.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to the next day. The city is bustling. It's happening.
Everyone. From everywhere.
From everywhere. We get license plates.
Is to see the snow maze.
See the snow maze. The article has gone viral. The maze is a hit. It is a zoo there. We're in the snack shack when out of nowhere... News swoops in for a live interview. It is ambushy and fairly comical to me.
It's a short interview, too.
Right? And I love how
we... like, hey, here's your maze. We like it. Do you like it? Yeah. Okay. Bye. Thanks. And then he's like, did we get everything?
John? And he leaves, yes.
You just got like one sentence.
You have one soundbite and haven't shot a frame of video.
It's not even going to get you 60 seconds.
You're done.
Story.
Anyway, she says she's leaving. She says she's going to leave town, go back to Chicago. He looks like he honestly might cry.
Yeah.
Dad stops by while she's packing and they have a heart-to-heart. Julia goes off to the maze after it's closed for the night to find her way. Here we go. She lights a sparkler as a little torch and meanders. She falls in love with the charm of it all, and she rediscovers, of course, her love for her small little town. So, if she has this major cathartic moment, what do you think she's going to do? Do you think she's going to, like, hop in her car and go find Nate and tell him all about it? No. What she does is she immediately goes into the snack shack.
She's like, I have to write.
Have to write
In the memory book.
in the memory book
Immediately.
how I feel about this. Not go tell the boy that I suddenly
Like,
realize I can't live
They
without.
have to be together. No.
No. Got to write in the memory book. Anyway,
She's a journalist after all.
as well, got to document it.
Don't
Yeah.
forget.
She runs off to Nate's to connect with him, only to find out that he's out with, Sky.
Ugh, Sky.
Julia is beyond bummed, especially when she peers through the window at the croissant shop and sees Sky make her move to grab Nate's hand. It's this very sort of like that kind of
She's like, I'm sitting with you.
like that. It's very that. Yeah. Anyway,
And he's kind of like,
he lets her know that he doesn't like her that way.
yeah.
And within 30 seconds, she admits that she's actually a New Yorker, doesn't like small town life, and she bolts like immediately.
And I was like, thank you.
We're done with Sky.
Bye.
No more
Bye,
Sky in
Sky.
this movie. Bye, Sky. Sky, bye. The next morning, Julia packs up her little Nissan and she leaves back for Chicago. Nate finally has decided that he has to tell her how he feels. So he goes, for some reason, again, okay, so he finally decides that he needs to tell her how he feels. What do you think he does? Do you think he gets in his car, goes to her house? Do you think he picks up his cell phone and calls her and says, hey, we got to talk? No.
Nope.
What does he do?
Mm-mm.
What does he do?
He blocks the road with the snowplow.
Well,
I
first,
forgot what.
First. he goes back to the snack shack.
Oh,
He goes to the snack shack and he looks through the memory book. No, you're fine. You were kind of falling asleep at this point. It was kind of late.
Molly was falling.
Exactly. So he goes for some reason to look at the memory book, and suddenly he knows what he has to do. So he bolts off to her family's house. He and Dad hatch this plan. Of course, Dad has access to all of these snow plows. And so what they do is they basically set up a roadblock somewhere. She gets caught in it. He shows up there. A few minutes later, lays it all out on the line, and they smooch twice. Kind of a good moment. Yeah. Cut to a bit of a brief epilogue here where they race through the maze one last time and fade to black.
Okay, time for our gold or coal segment where we each give 3 gifts. More gold, it's amazing. More coal, it's a not. And if it's a tie, it's a meh.
Meh.
All right, Josh, you go first.
All right, so I'm going to give some gold out of the gate for all the winter feels. It was wintry, it was pretty, it was scenic. It felt like a winter movie, not a Christmas movie. It didn't try to do a Christmas thing. It was more winter than anything, but it was really pretty and small town life and sort of made me long for small town winter fun. What about you?
Yeah, my first one is kind of the same, but a little different because I felt like it was that you could tell it was actually cold there. Like it wasn't just like wintry, but like their noses were pink and their ears were pink. You could like see their breath when they were out by the bridge having their talk. And I'm like, gosh, they actually look pretty cold. Like it's not just like
Pretend.
CGI snow everywhere.
Yeah.
And like fake stuff. It was like, except for the like snow letters outside of the maze, those were pretty fake.
Mm-hmm.
But it like felt like really like it was cold.
Yeah.
And it made me want to like
Which is a good point. 'Cause
go have some hot chocolate. at Miss
Sometimes they
Laura's.
shoot these in the off season, you
Yeah.
know, and
you
they
can
actually
tell.
didn't do it with this one. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I am going to give some additional gold for the believable small town vibe of it all. I like that there was a small town cafe and there were small town relationships and small town plowing company and just all of these things. Right. But all of these things that just sort of had this kind of wink and a nod to simple small town life. I thought that was really endearing. And, you know, sometimes they do this thing in these movies where small town life is a deficiency or is not as great as being in the big city. And that really wasn't the plot point here, right? It was the opposite, yeah. And I think she was looking for a reason to come back to her small town, not a reason to go back to the city and stay, you know, that kind of thing. So I thought that was a nice sort of gesture to small town America, even though it was shot in Canada. But,
well,
you know,
it's all right.
Yeah, neither here nor there. Your next one.
I'm going to give some more gold to Miss Nora, the chocolatier, because at first you're like, okay, are we going to spend time at this shop in the movie or not? And then we learn more about her, and she's actually a Swiss chocolatier. And she uses real cream to make her chocolate ice cream. She makes the best hot chocolate, not just in their city, but in the world, according to them.
Okay.
And there were a lot of carbs in this movie subsequently. There were croissants, and then they had brownies, and then her mom baked muffins, and they had the pancake breakfast, and they had ice cream. And I'm here for that.
A lot of good food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the French fry stand at the snack shack.
Yes.
Can't go wrong. My last gift is a piece of coal. I feel like there was a really missed opportunity here. The whole thing was about the maze. I wanted the big climactic moment for their relationship to happen in the maze. Like, I wish if she would have had this moment where she comes to her senses and realizes she has to go find herself in the maze, that she wanders around the maze and that he happens to be in the maze and they find each other in the maze. Like, that to me would have been the natural opportunity. I thought the snowplow road thing was cute, but it felt not true to the overall concept of the movie. I would have liked it more if the love was sort of realized in the maze.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of was at the end, but that, like, was after.
It's like a tack on.
Yeah.
Anyway, your last gift?
Well, I'm going to give a little coal for the dog actor, just because.
The canine actor.
I appreciate a non-human actor. Dog, cat, horse.
Whatever.
Especially if they're making appropriate noises at the appropriate time.
Ugh, don't get her started on that.
And this dog, it's a cute dog. And then he's just there and he's like, oh, I'm gonna, like, can we play with him? Can he, like, go with them to build the snow angels? And he can build a snow angel too. Can he, like, help her get to the middle of the maze somehow? Because he's a smart dog that knows how to, you know.
So you wanted more from the dog?
I wanted more from the dog.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, minor character, yes, but it's an animal and animals are cute.
Maybe more dog, less sky.
Yes, please.
Ugh. Anywho. So bottom line, the score here, we had 4 gold, 2 coal. We're going to call it amazing. Final thoughts?
I really liked it. I usually get a little bored about, like, 2/3 of the way through of, like, okay, when's the drama? And then we're going to make up in the happy ending. But I, like, wanted to watch it.
I feel the same.
It was like, it was a feel good, and it was like, it was cheesy, but like not so cheesy where you're just like, I want this to be over. I'm annoyed. It was like just cute and believable too, because they were like childhood friends, and that's a fun thing to think about.
Yeah, I liked that element. The synopsis, I think, undersold this movie.
Sure.
You read the synopsis and you think, well, this sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But it actually was pretty cute. I thought that it had a lot of heart. I thought the parents were great in it. It was definitely one that if it was on again, I would watch it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A good sort of family feel winter movie, heartfelt, good stuff.
Yeah.
Great. And that, friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Special thanks to Nick Schwartz for our theme song, and of course to you for listening.
Hey, if you like our podcast, we're really appreciative of you. Be sure to review, subscribe, tell a friend. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to give us a follow, leave a comment, interact with us, ask a question, provide an answer. We want to get to know you. You can find links to all of our social stuff on our website, doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com. We are also, get ready, gearing up for Countdown to Christmas with dozens and dozens and dozens of new movies. starting very soon. We are still game planning, Jennifer and I are, about how to handle it all, but we will make sure you know exactly what our plan is so that you can watch along as we recap and review and have a whole lot of fun coming up into the holiday season.
Stay tuned to the socials to find out what Jennifer and Josh will be watching, recapping, and reviewing next. And until then,
May your days be merry and bright. We love you, Jennifer. We'll see you next time.